A surprising development in the sexual assault trial of 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey team. The judge declared a mistrial this morning and released the jury. Good afternoon. The proceedings center around an alleged incident that took place in a London hotel room in June of 2018.
The trial had just gotten underway earlier this week, but a new one will now have to take place. Legal experts say a mistrial is called when an issue arises that prevents a fair verdict from being reached.
Things happen in a trial. It's hard to speculate, but sometimes certain issues may arise that might have, in a way, compromised the jury panel. And then that comes to the attention of the judge or one of the lawyers, and therefore the judge would be alerted to this issue. Then there would be a discussion with both the defense and the Crown and determine if there's a way to avoid a mistrial. And if there isn't, then the safest thing to do in order to protect the integrity of the fairness of the trial process is to declare a mistrial and then pick a new jury fresh.
Michael McLeod, Carter Hart, Alex Fermenton, Dylan Dubé, and Cal Foote had all pleaded not guilty before the mistrial was declared. Let's go to London, Ontario. CTV's Nick Paparella is standing by with more from the courts. Nick, this is rare, but it does happen from time to time. What's been the reaction?
You're right, Nathan. Lots of twists and turns so far in this case. About 2 hours ago, Justice Maria Caracia did enter the courtroom. She called in the jury and simply said, "I have declared a mistrial and you are dismissed." So basically, Nathan, we are back to square one, back to choosing another jury. So those 14 members have been dismissed. There are about 100 prospective jurors here at the London courthouse right now. They were prepared for this, and right now, so far, they have selected one. So this, the previous jury was selected on Tuesday. I thought, Nathan, it would take a lot longer than that, but just one day. But so far, they have one, and the process is back to square one.
So we're going to move forward. Any idea, or might we ever find out why this was declared a mistrial?
Yeah, Justice Caracia has put a ban on publication. We all know, members of the media know, we were not able even to say yesterday that she was going to declare a mistrial today. So the reasons are sealed, and right now we can't say much. But we do know that they're hopeful that a jury will be selected by the end of the day today, and that the trial can start in earnest on Monday, and hopefully we'll be hearing evidence Monday and or Tuesday.
Of course, this is a high-profile case. Can you just remind our viewers what this is all about?
Yeah, this is dating back to June of 2018. Hockey Canada Gala here in London after the World Juniors won gold for Canada. And it's an alleged incident that happened at a downtown London hotel that's what brings us here. The incident was initially investigated at that time. No charges were laid. But then after a Hockey Canada lawsuit was settled, this was brought back to light, and then charges were laid in February of 2024. Lots of legal wrangling between then and now, and the trial was set to start on Tuesday. They did select the jury, as I mentioned, and now we have this mistrial.
So it looks like Nick is going to move forward pretty quickly.
We're hopeful. I mean, I think all the defense lawyers are hopeful. I think the Crown is hopeful. Justice Caracia is hopeful. As she mentioned yesterday, I think they can select a jury today. They've got about 100 prospective jurors here set up. They ask them each questions about what's if they have any biases or not. So once that process is done, we're hopeful, keeping our fingers crossed, Nathan, that they do have a jury by the end of the day, and then evidence can be heard on Monday or Tuesday.
All right, CTV's Nick Paparella at the courthouse in London. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Well, a jury in Ontario has found 2 people guilty of first-degree murder in the fatal shooting of an Ontario provincial police officer.
CTV's Krista Simpson tells us the verdict came late last night, about 6.5 hours after deliberations began.
Constable Greg Pierchalla had just learned he had passed his probationary period with Haldimand County OPP the day he responded to what should have been a routine call, a vehicle in the ditch on a winter's day. His body camera captured the moment he was shot, ambushed by a shooter jurors agreed is Randall McKenzie. Standing next to him, Brandy Stewart Sperry, Mackenzie's then-girlfriend, who jurors determined is also guilty of first-degree murder. The Cayuga courtroom packed with people, including multiple uniformed OPP officers, as the sentence was read out late Thursday night. OPP Sergeant Ed Sanchuk reading a statement on behalf of the Pirchella family.
The conclusion of this trial has weighed heavily on all of us. The verdict is an important step as we focus on moving forward with continuing the important work Greg started and contributing to the everlasting impact he had on so many people personally and professionally.
We want to thank the jury who worked hard on behalf of this community to ensure that justice was done. We want to thank members of the Ontario Provincial Police and other police services who worked long and hard hours to ensure that, that an outstanding job was done on this case. We want to thank all members of the public who rendered assistance at the scene. Mostly, though, our thoughts are with Greg Pirchella, his friends, his family, his colleagues.
Before sentencing, Mackenzie addressed the court, saying in part, I'm so sorry to your family, and that shouldn't have happened to nobody. Stewart Sperry declined to say anything. Justice Andrew Goodman read them their mandatory sentence, life in prison with no parole eligibility for 25 years. To Mackenzie, he said, Mr. Mackenzie, your actions here were callous, cold-blooded, and an assassination of a young officer in the prime of his life, just starting out in his career. No excuse whatsoever for your actions in this regard. He also told Stewart Sperry her actions were cold-blooded and callous, calling her an aider and abettor. Mackenzie's lawyer declined to comment. Stewart Sperry said she was disappointed with the decision.
We're disappointed, obviously. We thought there was a reasonable doubt, but, the jury worked hard, as they always do in these cases. They thought about it. They served the administration of justice well, as juries do. So, disappointed. She'll take some time to digest it, as will we all.
Justice Goodman also had words for the family of Constable Pirchella, saying in part, I am sorry for your loss and I share in your grief. Hopefully this will provide some measure of closure for you.
This has been an incredibly challenging period for Provincial Constable Greg Pirchella's family, the members of the OPP, and their loved ones.
When sentencing, the judge noted neither Mackenzie nor Stewart Sperry will be released before December 2047. Both must provide DNA samples. They have a lifetime ban on possessing, carrying, or owning any weapons, and they cannot contact various members of the Pirchella family. Krista Simpson, CTV News, Cayuga.
Time for a look outside as we turn our attention to the weather on this Friday. Nice conditions to start the day, but we do have our eye on the sky as we head into the afternoon hours. Lindsay Morrison is here with a look at the current conditions. What are you seeing?
Yeah, so chance of showers today, risk of thunderstorms as well. And perhaps you've already noticed it's quite a bit cooler out there than it was this time yesterday. We're going to begin, though, with a look at the satellite and radar. All is dry right now in the Toronto area, but starting to become a little more unsettled in through the west end of the GTA. We'll zoom in a little closer there so you can see that rain impacting Hamilton over toward Niagara. Risk of thunderstorms, yes, for us this afternoon and into tonight. Still dealing with that east wind, and it is a little bit gusty, especially around the city of Toronto, just upwards of about 30 kilometers per hour right now. We're at 14 degrees. You will find it cooler by the lake again today, and we're really not going to warm up from here. We're also not going to cool down all that much, though, into the evening. Tomorrow, though, you're going to notice a change once again. We're going to take you through the weekend forecast coming up. For now, Nathan, sending things over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. The Toronto Maple Leafs pulled off another overtime victory, beating the Senators in the nation's capital last night.
There are plenty of happy Leafs fans around town today, while Ottawa is now on the brink of elimination. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live with more on the fan reaction. Everybody in a good mood, I'd say, Mike.
Jubilant, Michelle and Nathan. I've seen a lot of people today walking around town wearing blue and white, stopping by this shrine in Midtown to bask in that Game 3 victory. A lot of fans are saying, bring out the brooms. The Leafs are going to sweep the Senators.
Austin Matthews, another face-off win. Shot, Benoit! Score!
A second straight OT thriller in the Battle of Ontario. The Toronto Maple Leafs now one win away from advancing to the second round.
Well, the odds are in their favor right now. We'll get to the next game, see what happens.
There's great chemistry this year, and it's hard to beat the Leafs, especially if they're up a goal or if they're down a goal. They always come back strong.
At this Maple Leafs shrine outside a Midtown home, fans have their brooms ready.
If there was a time that they could come close, this is the year.
They're going to do it this year.
But some in Leafs Nation are cautiously optimistic.
So we just wait a little bit longer, maybe one more game, and then we start talking because, you know...
No jinxing.
No jinxing.
We don't know.
Defenseman Simon Benoit was the unlikely hero, scoring less than a minute and a half into overtime to give the Leafs the 3-0 commanding series lead.
The fourth game's the hardest one to win, and we're going to enjoy this one, and then tomorrow we're going to rest up, do what we need to do to get prepared for the fourth game, and just continue to put our best foot forward and stay focused.
The Senators, who played their first playoff game at home since 2017, now on the brink of elimination.
I'm not complaining, but they've got a couple bounces that have gone their way. Puck goes off the toe, and a deflection goes in, and we just need to keep playing and worry about the next game.
The last time Toronto swept the playoff series was back in 2001. That, too, was against Ottawa. Game 4 is Saturday.
Now, only 4 teams in NHL history have come back from a 3-0 deficit to win a series. The Leafs, however, have never blown a series when they have had this commanding lead. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Well, everything must go. Hudson's Bay is set to liquidate those 6 remaining stores today.
Canada's oldest company has also received approval to auction off its collection of art and artifacts. CTV's John Musselman is live at the flagship store on Yonge Street with more. John.
Hi, Nathan. Yes, we were just inside the store a short time ago. It's fairly busy, but we'll show you some video here this morning. Shoppers were in there trying to get some deals, up to 70% off on some of the items. We just spoke to a gentleman who said he got 70% off on a piece of furniture. So the liquidation process is underway, including the flagship store downtown, Richmond Hill, and at Yorkdale Mall. We were talking to shoppers today. They are expressing a bit of remorse about this store being closed because it's so iconic. But at this point, there's really not much they can do about it. They say it's sad, but they will try to capture any deals they can today while this liquidation process is underway. Now, we did have a chance to speak to a retail analyst and to some shoppers. We'll have much more on that tonight on CTV News at 5 and at 6. Reporting live on Richmond Street, I'm John Musselman. I'll send it back to you.
All right. Thank you, John. Now to Vatican City, where well-wishers have been paying their respects to Pope Francis ahead of his funeral tomorrow. This was the scene this morning as the faithful waited for their chance to see the Pope lying in state in St. Peter's Basilica. Those in line today received a text message on their phones letting them know that access to St. Peter's Square would end at 5 p.m. local time, with public viewing scheduled to end 1 hour later. But the long lineups did nothing to dampen the determination of those who got up early for their chance to say farewell to Pope Francis. And final preparations are underway for the funeral for the Pope. Mourners have been lining up to pay their respects. CTV's Genevieve Beauchemin is in Vatican City, and you've been there throughout the day. It's evening time there now. What was it like throughout the day?
Well, Nathan, those lineups that we've been saying are very long were extremely long today. Many, many people converging on the square all day. We did see just a few moments ago that it appeared that the lineup that we could see here from our vantage point, so they closed the gates a little bit earlier. So the last of the pilgrims who will be filing in front of the caskets have now gone into the square, and this will continue for a little bit. And the atmosphere was as it has been for the last few days. Many, many people coming here, converging from all over the world, coming here to get a chance to say goodbye, to pay their respects to the Pope, but also to celebrate his life. I can let you hear from the Canadian, Bishop McGrattan, Bishop William McGrattan, who is from the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, who had a chance to go in and pay his own respects. Here's what he had to say.
I spent some time praying, and as I was sort of moving through the Basilica, if I stopped, I found people coming up and asking for prayers and for blessings. There was a couple of times where some of the guards asked me to move on. So I realized that people are drawn to this moment. They feel close to God and Pope Francis, and so they're just asking for those prayers and blessings. So It was just a reminder to me that, you know, this is the legacy. He wants the bishops to be close to the people.
And that's a legacy so many are coming here to celebrate, and many, many more will be here for the funeral taking place tomorrow.
And what do you know about tomorrow? What happens next?
Well, next what happens is that there will be the sealing of the casket in preparation for that funeral. So that will happen in the next few hours. There will be a ceremony. The casket will be sealed. Before that, there will be a document that will be placed in the casket, a kind of sort of a summary of the some of the parts of the life of Pope Francis. Also, there will be coins. These are ancient rituals, traditions, and then the coffin will be sealed. And then tomorrow there will be that funeral. You know, 149 cardinals have now arrived here and held a meeting this morning to talk about those final touches on that funeral. Dignitaries from around the world will be converging here to that 130 different delegations that are coming. It will be procession will follow this funeral before the burial, which will take place a little later in the day.
All right, CTV Genevieve Beauchemin in Vatican City. Thank you. And Governor General Mary Simon will lead the Canadian delegation at Pope Francis's funeral tomorrow. Simon met the late pontiff when he visited Canada in 2022 to apologize for the Catholic Church's role in the residential school system. She'll be joined by her husband as well as the Senate Speaker. All 5 Canadian cardinals will be there, as well as several bishops. Mark Carney says he won't attend the service in his capacity as Prime Minister, as he feels it isn't right for him to leave the country so close to Election Day on Monday.
And CTV will have special coverage of the funeral for Pope Francis tomorrow, hosted by Omar Sachedina, that begins at 3:30 a.m. Eastern on CTV, CTV News Channel, and streaming live on ctvnews.ca.
The World Food Program says its food stocks in the Gaza Strip have run out under Israel's nearly 8-week-old blockade. Some 80% of Gaza's population of more than 2 million relies primarily on Charity Kitchen for food because other sources have shut down under Israel's blockade. According to the UN, Israel cut off entry of all supplies to Gaza March 2nd and then resumed its bombardment and ground offensives, shattering a 2-month ceasefire with Hamas. It says the moves aim to pressure the militants to release hostages it still holds. Now, rights groups have called the blockade a starvation tactic and a potential war crime.
More fallout from the deadly attack in Indian-controlled Kashmir this week as New Delhi accuses Pakistan of involvement. That country's Senate has passed a resolution denouncing the downgrading of ties.
Condemns India's unlawful and unilateral declaration to hold the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance, in blatant violation of the treaty, which clearly amounts to an act of war.
The resolution mentions the suspension of a crucial water-sharing treaty. It also condemns India's attempt to link Pakistan with the attack on tourists in Indian-controlled Kashmir on Tuesday, which killed 26 people. Experts warn the increasing tensions could have widespread impacts on the region.
We've also seen limited signs of external pressure on India to restrain its action. So unlike previous periods of India-Pakistan hostility, when the U.S. played a prominent role in de-escalating tensions, we're not seeing any signs of that under the current U.S. administration. So as a result of that, I think we could see the situation go from bad to worse.
Amid the growing tensions, a previously unknown militant group has claimed responsibility for Tuesday's attack in Indian-controlled Kashmir.
Meanwhile, as the Ukraine-Russia war rages on, a senior Russian military officer has been killed after his car exploded just outside of Moscow. Russia's investigative committee says an explosive device was rigged with shrapnel and attached to the military officer's car. A similar incident occurred back in December when a bomb hidden on an electric scooter exploded and killed a military official as he left for work. Russian authorities blamed Ukraine for the December attack, but have not mentioned possible suspects in today's deadly explosion. Donald Trump weighed in today on his efforts to reach a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia as a U.S. official holds talks in Moscow.
We're meeting with Putin right now as we speak, and we have a lot of things going on, and I think in the end we're going to end up with a lot of good deals, including tariff deals and trade deals. We're going to make our country rich, but we're going to try and get out of war so that we can save 5,000 people a week.
As Russia carries out its own attacks this week, the Trump administration has been pushing Ukraine to accept a deal with Russia that would essentially accept the loss of territory since the start of the 2022 invasion. Ukraine has said it would prefer an unconditional ceasefire. And it was another night of deadly Russian strikes in Ukraine. At least 8 people were killed in drone strikes across the country, just one day after Russia launched its deadliest bombardment of Ukraine since the middle of last year. As the federal election campaign comes down to the wire, several party leaders are in Ontario. Liberal leader Mark Carney was in Sault Ste. Marie talking about efforts to support workers hit by U.S. tariffs.
We're also using all levers available, everything that's available to the government to support our steel industry. We will maximize Canadian steel, aluminum, and other critical minerals from exploration through to battery production. We'll maximize the use of those materials to seize this economic opportunity, to create higher paying jobs, and ultimately to build the strongest economy in the G7.
NDP leader Jagmeet Singh was here in Toronto outlining his policy promises while taking aim at the Liberal leader.
Now Canadians are taking a hard look at Mark Carney and saying, well, wait a second here. Wait a second. This is a guy that profited off of the housing crisis as the chair of Brookfield Investments. This is a guy who was the chair of a company that was the biggest tax dodger in our country. And now his plan includes $28 billion in cuts. That's massive. And he said just on Monday, he's going to exceed those cuts.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre started the day in Saskatchewan discussing reforms to the criminal justice system.
We will pass the 3 strikes and you're out law that requires a mandatory minimum of 10 years behind bars and a maximum of life. They will never get out of prison unless they've finished their 10 years and done so with perfect behavior, clean drug tests, and learning an employable skill so that they can contribute to society when they get out. No more parole for repeat offenders. They will go behind bars, and our people will be safe for a change.
Canadians head to the polls to choose their next federal government on Monday. And CTV's Jeremy Sharon joins us live with the latest. We're many weeks in now, down to the wire. Jeremy, the candidates heading into the final weekend of the campaign. Bring us up to speed on the latest poll numbers. What are they telling us?
Yeah, Michelle, it's a tight race here heading into the last few days ahead of Monday's election day, of course. And the polls certainly indicate that. What we've seen is barely any change over yesterday's Nanos daily ballot tracking numbers. The Liberals hold roughly a 5-point lead over the Conservatives. When it comes to preferred Prime Minister, Mark Carney still in the lead there, a little over a 10-point lead over Pierre Poilievre. And we continue to see support across the country kind of remain the same so far. Mark Carney and the Liberals have support in Atlantic Canada, in Ontario and Quebec. Pierre Poilievre continues to hang on to the prairies. And BC is kind of the big battleground, if you will. And that's why we're seeing a lot of focus in that province. Pierre Poilievre leaving Saskatchewan today to make his way to British Columbia, specifically Nanoose Bay today. That's a 10-year NDP riding. And we know that a lot of NDP seats are at stake there. Both the Conservatives and the Liberals have been working hard in the province of British Columbia to try and make some gains there, as that province, Michelle, could kind of be a big difference maker come election night.
It certainly is a pivotal time to shore up support, and the numbers suggesting, you know, really the Canadians are focusing on the two parties. What are you thinking in terms of how the campaigns are maybe behind the scenes? Give us a sense. Are they making any changes to how they're approaching Canadians at this stage in the game?
Absolutely. I think that this is a time coming into the last few days where war rooms and campaigns are at peak strategy here. They are looking at every decision they make, every stop they make, every speech the leaders make is calculated and is backed with data, with evidence and live polling, internal polling that they're doing to try and maximize all the time that is left. Again, that's why we're seeing Pierre Poilievre tonight in BC, in an NDP riding in a province where both the Conservatives and the Liberals have been looking to gain, and their polling is showing them there is room to gain there. The Liberals are, as you mentioned, in Ontario, specifically in Sault Ste. Marie today, in Terry Sheehan's riding. He is the incumbent there, but that's a tight three-way race, so that's a seat they're looking to hold on to. Every stop these parties make over the next few days is highly calculated, highly focused, and everything the leaders talk about is highly calculated and highly focused. I think we can expect to continue to hear Pierre Poilievre talk about issues of affordability, cost of living, trying to shy away too much from Donald Trump, the trade war, and that conversation, which is where we know the Liberals are going to be focused on. Mark Carney, the Liberals, the polling tells them that is the issue that benefits them best. And we've seen it over the last 2 days, and I expect we'll see it right to Election Day, is Mark Carney continue to talk about Donald Trump, the trade war, and the challenges this country faces amid all of that. And so this is kind of crunch time here, the sprint to the finish, and all of the parties will be very busy.
No doubt. CTV's Jeremy Charon live from Ottawa this afternoon. Thank you.
Anytime.
And as you make up your mind, we will remind you to join CTV News Election Night, Monday night, for results, analysis, perspective from all across the country. Our coverage gets underway at 7 p.m. Eastern, led by Omar Satadina and Vashi Kapelos. Lindsay.
Well, it was a warm day yesterday. You may recall it felt a little more like summer. Here's a look at some of the peak temperatures that were reached across southern Ontario. Pearson Airport, about 23 degrees. It wasn't all that much cooler. Toronto downtown, about 21 for the daytime high. Now, there is a bit of a noticeable difference today. We're about 10 degrees cooler in many locations. But notice how at 15 degrees, that's seasonal here in Toronto. So it's the type of temperature we expect at this point in the month of April. As for the temperature trend, well, we're going to cool down a little bit for tomorrow, but then we have a nice rebound for the second half of the weekend and early next week. We'll talk all about it after this break here on CTV News at noon.
Well, let's talk about the forecast. Yesterday was beautiful. It felt like a summer day, sunshine, hot, air conditioning on in the car.
Really?
Yeah.
The AC?
Oh, yeah. I had to turn
Wow.
on the AC. Today, not quite the same, but it still feels pretty good. It's Friday. And, you know, the Leafs won last night.
Well,
everybody's smiling.
There's that. I know it could be snowing today. You wouldn't be that angry, I guess. I don't know. It's a really fun time for Leafs fans. We got some big Leafs fans in this studio, so it's fun to see you guys skipping in today.
Yeah, for sure. A little extra spring in our step, even though, yes, it did feel like summer yesterday. Nathan, I agree. And maybe not quite AC weather, but we're getting there. You know, this is the final weekend of April. May is right around the corner, and we've got some above seasonal temperatures that we're going to enjoy once again over the next few days. We just have to kind of get through tonight and especially get through tomorrow. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm. Injury lawyers, you don't pay unless they win. Another lovely sunrise today. Some clouds in the mix, though, a little more so today than, say, yesterday at times. Cooler, cloudier, and yes, potential for a few showers and maybe even some thunder showers today, although the likelihood of severe storms seems to have lessened compared to what it was looking like a couple of days ago and even as recent as yesterday. Let's take a look at the satellite and radar right now. We do have a few showers over Lake Ontario impacting the Hamilton to Niagara corridor as well and inching closer to areas like Brantford and Kitchener-Waterloo. Big picture look at this low pressure system, though, shows you that it could be impacting us over the next little while here, and especially as we make our way into the nighttime hours tonight. Not a lot of rain in the forecast. If we do happen to get a thunderstorm, you can expect these numbers to go up, and it looks like Windsor, Ontario, a little more likely at this point to experience thunder and lightning. There it is as we make our way through the afternoon and early evening. Just be mindful of this possibility. For us, late evening and overnight into the day on Saturday. This is when we have potential as the cold front swings through. Right now it's looking pretty dry. And then waking up tomorrow morning, some scattered showers, mostly cloudy. We do expect there will be some clearing as the day goes on, but we're also going to be dealing with a brisk northwest wind. It's going to feel cool. In fact, it'll be warmer in the morning than it will be in the afternoon. We go from about 12 degrees in the a.m. to about 8 tomorrow afternoon. Still quite comfortable right now. It's 14 degrees here locally, in the 20s once again across the extreme southwest. This is your evening at a glance. If you do have Friday night plans, might not hurt to bring the umbrella with you. Just need the light jacket though. 13 is what we're expecting around 9 p.m. And then overnight, we fall to around 11. That, too, is warmer than normal. A little snapshot of tomorrow at select cities. That's a bit of a cool down in Kincardine, 4 degrees, perhaps only 5 in Stratford. Should be in the double digits for a good portion of the day anyway, around the Golden Horseshoe. But again, single-digit territory as we make our way further into the afternoon. Let's talk about what, in my opinion, is the best part of the weekend forecast, and that's Sunday. Lots of sunshine, temperature back up around 17 degrees. Monday is looking quite nice as well, and that's great news because it's election day, as we know, and good weather usually results in perhaps a better voter turnout. We can only hope for that. Looks like some showers are going to return into the day on Tuesday, but it is going to be mild with temperatures, daytime highs anyway, once again into the 20s. That's your look at the forecast for now. Nathan, I'll send it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Lindsay. Well, the city's getting ready to launch its annual spring cleanup. With warmer temperatures now here, you may have spotted more trash around local parks, especially as snow melts away and items left over from the winter months are uncovered. This afternoon, the mayor will take part in an event kicking off the yearly Clean Toronto Together Spring Cleanup. It's set to run through Sunday and invites community members and groups to volunteer and collect litter in parks, ravines, and other natural spaces like beaches.
If you're planning to take the subway this weekend, there is a partial closure on Line 2. To keep in mind, the TTC says there will be no trains running between Kipling and Jane stations both Saturday and Sunday. This is because of track work. Shuttle buses will be running instead, and regular service is set to resume Monday at 6 a.m. And a heads up for GO Transit riders. Metrolink says there will be no GO train service on the Barrie line Saturday and Sunday to accommodate critical track work. GO buses will replace trains at all stations except for Downsview and Union. Metrolink says the track work may lead to some Barrie line trips departing at different times on Monday and Tuesday as well.
And drivers may notice more military vehicles on roads in the province this weekend. Army Reserve personnel will be conducting convoy and supply operations training on roads between Toronto, North Bay, and Burwash. There may be increased military traffic on highways, including the 400, 69, and 11. The Department of National Defense says the exercise is meant to ensure military personnel are ready to respond to emergencies such as flooding and wildfires in cooperation with other agencies. We've got more news after the break. Stay with us.
The number of suspected and confirmed measles cases in Ontario has now surpassed 1,000 as opposition parties push the province to take more action against the outbreak.
This comes as Toronto Public Health investigates a new confirmed case in Etobicoke. Officials say they're responding to a case at Thomas Berry Early Learning and Childcare Centre. That's at Lakeshore West and 32nd Street in Long Branch. Toronto Public Health says it's identifying all potential contacts and taking appropriate steps. And this comes as Public Health Ontario says 1,020 cases have been reported since the outbreak started, an increase of 95 infections since last week. So far, 76 patients have needed hospital care, and 72 of them were not vaccinated, most of them children. The Ontario Liberals say the Ford government is dropping the ball on the response and isn't providing nearly enough to update the public.
To date, we have a press release from mid-March from the Chief Medical Officer of Health, and we haven't seen evidence of anything else. I have no doubt that people may be working in the background, but we're certainly not seeing the results.
The province says it's been clear in its message to Ontarians that vaccination is the most effective way to limit the spread of measles and stay protected.
We've actually been working very closely with the Chief Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kieran Moore. We've been for over a year reinforcing the importance for public health units to refocus their efforts on childhood vaccines. We've also started a public awareness campaign to ensure that caregivers, families understand the importance of keeping their children's vaccines up to date.
The outbreak is mostly centered around southwestern Ontario. Health experts say measles can lead to serious and potentially deadly complications, especially among the most vulnerable. A Kitchener woman's fight for access to a promising new treatment for a rare form of cancer was cut short when she died from the disease. The drug did help extend her life, but it came with a $15,000 a month price tag.
Now, thanks to advocates like her, Canadians could have funded access to it following a major decision from the Canadian Drug Agency. CTV's Spencer Turcott has the details.
Noor Aisha's family may be left behind, but they're making sure her legacy lives on in a big way.
Yeah, I think the initial reaction was, a moment of ease.
That's how her brother Mohammed Islam is responding to learning the Canadian Drug Agency reversed its 2022 decision and is now recommending pemigatinib, known under the brand name Pemazyre, to fight cholangiocarcinoma or bile duct cancer.
So it means that the provinces sort of have the go-ahead to negotiate funding for the drug and adding it to their formularies.
Shortly after Aisha's passing, Ontario did agree to cover the roughly $15,000 per month treatment on a case-by-case basis following months of her fighting for it. Now it's looking promising that Ontarians who require this treatment will be reimbursed thanks to the CDA recommendation.
Her intention was that, if she cannot access his, drug while she was alive, but she still wants to, help other people, fight for it so that other people can get access to it.
Brenda Clayton has advocated for people with this rare cancer since 2021. She's thrilled with the progress being made.
Kind of carcinoma patients deserve a chance to live as well, so I'm very happy that this is a start.
And the hope is
it opens the door for possibly other similar drugs to be championed at the federal level so that they too can proceed with funding in the future.
As for Pemazyre, it was previously approved by Health Canada, but the CDA recommendation means provinces can work with the drug agency to cover the cost of treatment, something Aisha's oncologist says would not have been possible without her.
Noor, was quite special, and her family was very strong and really supportive, and it's just amazing to see.
Spencer Turcotte, CTV News, Kitchener.
Still to come on CTV News, a difficult job market is fueling more job scams. We hear from two victims who lost more than $80,000. Stay with us.
Now more than ever, Canadians need to know where our leaders stand. CTV News keeps you informed on the issues that hit home. This election, connect to Canada's most trusted news source, CTV News, now more than ever.
The U.S. president has claimed he's spoken with China's president about the ongoing trade war, but Beijing says that hasn't happened. Donald Trump was asked when the supposed discussion took place.
I spoke to him numerous times. So we're leaving and going to Rome, where we'll be attending the funeral of Pope Francis. Some of you are going to go. Anybody going? And it's going to be very interesting. We're going to meet with a lot of the foreign leaders. They want to meet. Trade deals are going very well.
The U.S. president also renewed comments about making Canada the 51st state. In an interview published by Time magazine today, he was asked if he was, quote, trolling in his suggestions he'd like to see the U.S. take over Canada, Greenland, and Panama. He said he was not, as federal party leaders here say that will never happen.
Meanwhile, Canadian consumers defied tariff war uncertainty last month with the biggest spending growth since the holiday shopping season. An advanced estimate from Stats Canada suggests retail sales rose 0.7% in March. That more than made up for a 0.4% decline in February. Sales were down in 4 of 9 subsectors in February, led by declines at automotive retailers. As many people struggle with rising prices for groceries and housing, some are trying to find extra income by searching for jobs online.
It's led to a huge surge in fake job scams. Last year, Canadians lost more than $47 million to these employment scams. And this year, it could be worse. CTV's Pat Foran has this consumer alert.
I felt sad. I felt like, what am I going to do now?
After Greg Burgos of Toronto lost his job, he was hospitalized with a medical condition. He was unemployed and needed money. That's when he saw an ad on social media with a promise of work.
Is anybody interested in a part-time job, making a little extra money? And I said yes.
Burgos was directed to open a TikTok shop where he would help buy and sell items. He would have to pay for them in advance, but then receive a commission. He was skeptical, but says it appeared his online account was growing.
Sooner or later, I'm going to be able to withdraw my money back, plus a little bit extra money to help me through all this.
But when he tried to withdraw the funds, he couldn't. He was scammed out of $11,000.
This is money that I was saving. This is money that I need.
Maria, who asked us not to identify her, was also caught in a job scam. A company contacted her through social media with a position rating products online. She also had to pay in advance to earn a commission.
And any time you rated the product, what happened was you hit a certain number, and then you would get the commission. But every time you hit that number, it would extend, and they would want more money.
She kept putting in her own money until she was scammed out of $70,000.
It's devastating. I feel awful. That's a lot of money.
Cybersecurity experts say when it comes to working online, don't trust unusual, unexpected job offers.
Never respond to somebody that you don't know, to complete strangers, just because they make an appeal to authority and they pretend to be someone they're not.
To avoid job scams, be concerned if no in-person interview is required. You're offered high pay for easy work. You need to send money to earn money. Research the company carefully and protect your personal information. TikTok told CTV News TikTok Shop is not available in Canada. Burgos wanted to share his story to warn others.
I just want to make sure that nobody else has to feel what I'm feeling.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
Grammy nominee Benson Boone is out with a new song.
At the movies, 'cause it feels so mystical, magical.
The track is titled Mystical Magical. The pop star first premiered it during his set at the Coachella Music Festival. It's the second track to be released from his upcoming sophomore studio album titled American Heart, which is due to debut on June 20th. And speaking of new music.
Since I was 17, I gave you everything. Now we wake from a dream. Well, baby, what was that?
Lauren is out with a new music video for her song, What Was That? The singer-songwriter had been teasing the track for weeks. This video features her walking around New York City. It also includes footage of a fan event she held there a few days ago. The song's release has added to speculation the pop star could soon release her first new album since 2021's Solar Power.
Coming up, a Starbucks enthusiast is taking his love for the coffee brand around the world. We have the details after the break.
There are more than 40,000 Starbucks locations worldwide, and one man is determined to visit as many of them as possible.
CTV's Adam Sawatsky breaks down the caffeinated journey.
Winter is in the midst of a purposeful journey that began with a random idea at this Starbucks in Texas.
Light bulb went off in my head. Would it be possible to visit every single store?
There were only about 1,500 Starbucks stores then, so Winter pursued his goal with the same passion as he'd once collected coins or comic books.
Every time I would check a new Starbucks off my list, it would be like when I found that rare issue of a comic book.
But after collecting all the locations that were close by,
I discovered that I enjoyed road tripping.
Winter also found pleasure in his pursuits pre-internet logistical puzzle solving.
I actually had to look up Starbucks in the phone book, then grab a physical map and figure out how to get there.
Well, thanks to a frugal lifestyle and a flexible career as a computer programmer, Winter has traveled to more than 19,300 stores in 70 countries so far.
I don't think it actually occurred to me that it would be a never-ending struggle of not being able to keep up with the growth of new Starbucks.
Just like Winter never considered that he'd one day be regularly caring for his mom, who's living with dementia.
My mom is my #1 priority. Starbucking has to come second.
And her fading memory has made his website and social media channels, which chronicle every Starbucks visit with detailed blog posts and pictures, more meaningful than ever.
I personally find it very important to document just everything I do, because I don't know if in 10 years I'll remember what I was doing today.
Winter's also finished writing a manuscript about his travels and what he's learned about the benefits of pursuing your own unique path in life with purpose.
I would define myself in a state of almost nonstop bliss.
Which is why, 27 years after starting to collect all the stores he could, Winter is now stopping along the way to appreciate as many people and places as he can. Because like life, Winter says,
Starbucking is about the journey, not the destination.
Adam Sawatsky, CTV News, Victoria.
Never heard of that.
A lot to contemplate over a coffee. I like
Good
it.
idea.
Well, we're heading into another weekend. Is this the last weekend in April?
It
wow,
is.
May is next week. That's amazing. Is it going to feel more springy?
Well, I would consider maybe a warm coffee tomorrow as opposed to the iced coffee, but by early next week, it'll be feeling a little more like summer again. First, let's talk about the wet weather that's impacting some of you at this hour. A couple of sprinkles of rain around Burlington and Oakville, but for the majority of the wet weather, it's over Lake Ontario right now. We do have a chance of showers and the risk of thunderstorms through the rest of the day today, and tonight we're dropping to a low of about 11. That's actually pretty mild for an overnight low. Tomorrow, though, our daytime high is 12. We fall to about 8 degrees in the afternoon. How about Sunday, though? Lots of sunshine and mild temperatures Monday and Tuesday of next week, too.
Right.
Nathan and Michelle.
Looking good. Thank you, Lindsay. And that's CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great afternoon.